What's up? My name is Woman, and today I'm going to be taking a look at how to create really big, lush, sparkly chord progressions on guitar. And these kind of textures work really great in lo-fi, hip-hop kind of style music. I'm going to take you through all the steps I made to create this loop that goes on in the intro of the video. And then I'm going to share some tips and tricks for developing these kinds of ideas into full tracks. So by the end of this video, you'll have all the tools you need to create really big, lush, lo-fi guitar textures. So a note on the gear I'm using, I decided to use a semi-hollow guitar. This is a Heritage H535. And I chose this guitar because I chose a semi-hollow because I like kind of the airiness and roundness that it brings to the recording session, and I like that especially when I'm combining it with reverb and when I want to make a sound really, really big. That being said, any electric guitar will do great, and so I'm just plugging this straight into the audio interface and then into Logic on my computer. So with that out of the way, let's jump into the chords I'll be using for this loop. So I'm going to be writing in the key of E major. So this is our one chord. That's an E major 7. But we're going to be starting on the minor 6. And this key, that is a C sharp minor. So that's how I'm going to play it. You could play it with a bar as well. But I kind of like the Hendrix style, voicing with my thumb. And that's kind of because in this pattern, I'm not really going to be using the A string or the high E string that much, so I don't really need to do the full bar. But if you prefer to do bar, that's cool too. So we have our C sharp minor, and now we're going to go up to our one chord, so our E major 7. Okay, and again, this chord, you also can't play the A or the high E string, and we're not going to worry too much about those. So E major 7, then we're going down to the 5th fret of the low E string, and we're going to grab an A6-9. Nice. And if you're not familiar with this chord, this A6-9, you can kind of hold like a normal A7, or sorry, A major 7, and then you can drop the 7 to the 6, and now you have A6, and then if you drop the 4, you're going to get the 2, and the 2 is the 9, so that's how we get our A6-9. And this is functioning as a 4 chord, a major 4 chord in our key. Then the last chord we have, I'm going up to the 7th fret and I'm playing a B major power chord. And so the power chord is just the root, the 5th, and the octave. You could play a more complicated chord here, like a B7, or a B13, or B flat 13. But I kind of prefer just a simpler B power chord, kind of to contrast the more complicated A6-9 we just had. So we're going A6-9 to our B power chord, and then it loops all over again. We go back to our E, did I say E? I meant C sharp minor. Then to our E, A6-9, B power chord. Nice. Okay, so the next thing we're going to be looking at incorporating is the fingerstyle pattern I use when I play. And as far as fingerstyle patterns go, this one isn't so bad, but if you're used to playing with a pick, fingerstyle patterns can be kind of new and kind of confusing. So what I'll be doing is I'll be starting on my C sharp minor, and the basic idea of the fingerstyle pattern is that On the downbeat, you're going to be plucking the low E string with your thumb, and on the upbeat, you're going to be plucking one of the strings with your index, middle, or ring finger. And you're going to be going up and down with your index, middle, ring. So there's no index, middle, ring, middle, index, middle, ring, middle. And if that's kind of confusing, I'll show you what I mean. So if our, we're starting on the C sharp minor, and it's going to go down, up, 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 down, up. So a little faster, it's going to go like this. Okay? So just practice that a bunch of times. Going index, middle, ring, middle, index, middle, ring, middle. And then once you've done that for the C sharp minor, you can do it for all the other chords. So it'll be going like this. And then when you go to your B power chord, since you only have 3 strings, you're just going to be alternating middle and index. So it'll go like this. And then you repeat. The only other thing I'll add is that sometimes on your E major chord, what I do is I go, when I do the first sort of cycle, I do the F major 7, and then I drop to an F6. And so that's going to sound like this. All right. So here we are in Logic Pro. I just did a quick take. And so here's how that sounds. Let me play it. Okay, so that's starting to sound pretty, but how did I get it to sound so big and lush? So I was exploring the Logic's presets one day when I came upon one that was called Blooming Echo, and it was in the experimental guitar category, which I don't look at a lot. But with some tweaking, I think it's really perfect for this loop. And so there are 2 main effects that are in play here. Those are reverb and echo. So after the signal goes through the amp simulator and an EQ, I'm adding the silver verb to add some really nice reflections. Here's how that sounds. So as you can see, that adds a lot of reflections and room to the sound, making it a lot bigger. Then there's kind of a weird thing that happens next. So I'm putting the output of that track after the reverb through a bus and then into a new auxiliary track. And then here I'm going to pitch shift it up 7 semitones, which is a fifth, and I'm going to apply an echo effect. So this is what's going to add all those sort of fairy sparkle sounds to the mix. By the way, I was playing with the number of semitones that you use with the pitch shift, and if you use something other than a fifth or an octave, you can get some really insane demonic harmony. Here's a third, a major third, for example. Ooh, I don't think I'm going to be using that sound anytime soon. All right, so that's pretty much it for the main guitar loop. Now what I wanted to do is make a little song, sort of, to show you how you might use this loop. And so I added kind of like a lo-fi drum beat, mostly hi-hats, just found it in the Logic library. And then I actually contacted my friend Akira, who's a really great music producer, and he added some 808s and a snare and a kick that sounded really good. So great job, Akira. You should definitely check him out. And then last thing was to add sort of a single note line, and then some distorted guitar parts. And I played those on my trusty Stratocaster. So without any further ado, I'm just going to end the video on this song, and I hope you enjoyed.